welcome. This is Dynasty the Podcast Show, episode 57. I am your host, Ira Bush. I just want to say thank you. I just want to say I'm grateful for just being able to speak. Shout out to my mother, my family, my grandparents. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. My daughter, my nieces and nephews. I appreciate y'all. That's first and foremost. Everything would be possible. I wouldn't be the person I will not be the person I am today if I didn't have my family. So just shout out to all my family for real. And definitely the community that helped build me as well. So, shout out to them as well. And the people that was in it. A lot of stuff is based off my growing up and how I am now and what I have become, and it's only going to get better. So I got to make sure I put that energy out more often. I'm going to continue to be who I was put on earth to be. No one will stop that. No one. I know it's a lot of. The title today. I try to I talk about the use of your. I talk to my children and my family and my my niece, my in-house, and just the immediate family and what I was raised on. Just your choice of words and how you talk to people is very important, to not curse your family the way you talk. So first and foremost, the word that I picked, the title of today's episode is execrate, which is another word for the title was execrate. You're execrated. Why? And it's just basically, I always talk to y'all. I don't really talk to a lot of people anymore or be around a lot of people, but it's like, why do people hate? Why do people have envious spirits on them? And especially in my age group, like, you should be developed, you should be moved on and raising a family. You should not be worried about somebody like me speaking, because I have the authority to speak. I have a child. I have to make sure I have to speak up and talk, because the way they designed it for me is not as designed for you probably. I don't have time to go back and forth with small-minded people. People think because, like I said, money is important. I'm not saying that I don't want people to get that confused. You got to be able to. But once you have a certain amount, once you have the tricks and gadgets, all that stuff get old. It's just gonna look like a stack of paper, toilet paper on your desk. Once you get everything you always wanted, so you got to stay motivated throughout your life. You can't be unmotivated, and you can't be hating on somebody because they got something that you don't, or they got the spirit of joyfulness and happiness in them naturally, and you don't. So I be looking at that, and then you got to realize the choices that you make is the reason why you are in certain situations. It ain't because somebody is not stun your plans and ideas. And this is no diss to anyone. This is a direct conversation to the world, whoever will take the time out to listen. I don't really have time to like to dwell on something. I've lost people that I actually cared a lot about. I was not there to defend them. The people that I've stopped or helped, those are the people who will tell you, attest to my abilities of having about the power of authority. You know what I'm saying? You have to actually be around me. I can't. My mom, first thing she, when I was getting raised, and so as well as my grandmother and grandfathers, whatever you want, grandfather, these people know how hard it is for us. They didn't baby me. They didn't, what I'm saying? The only thing, they fed me, clothed me, put shelter over my house. That's about the basics of being raised in the community, in the village, type of setting. Like, that's about as much as I got. And then when 16 I hit, it got even more. I was like, you gotta earn keep, get your little job, get your clothes that you want. And it's not saying that my families come from a poor like background, but we had to earn respect, we had to earn our way in the world, because this is how United States of America is designed. And that's not saying we didn't have, not saying I don't come from anything. That's why I be trying to make sure y'all understand that We don't, people have. I always talk about the history of America. Do you realize once African descent and native, whatever these people have made agreements to basically hunt us as slaves on American turf now. This is basically what they're trying to, and it was, they had showed a lot before COVID. There were the police officers was literally gunning black people down, and the women, female, women, children, teenagers were getting shot on a rapid pace. It just slowed down a lot in the state of Florida, but it was on all 50 states. They were doing this as an example of showing authority. So once they shut down the world because everybody parents was up, wasn't having it. You know how police making the demonstration, hanging, I talk about it all the time on the show. So, this stems from a 300 years of breaking free of what they call slavery, I guess, and then they did integration in the 1900s, middle 1900s, and and they were still practicing slavery all the way to like the 1970s, and they already institutionalized certain things. So we gotta just keep discussing these things because they pull the wool over your eyes with going to vote. They token black person out here that already done sold everybody out. They put the music and the movies out. All the little stuff that you got to be mindful. I'm not saying don't enjoy your time or enjoy music because I do all that, but I'm not promoting that at this age because I don't. I have to create my own life. I have to create my own sanctuary for my child to develop, and it's still tough for me because who I had my child with does not understand these intel type of things. They don't think as greatly as me. They didn't understand the person that I am. So I talk about this all the time. I know I'm reiterating it, but I just gotta make sure that's known. Like I don't, if you ever was in school with me, you know how I am. I rather have an intelligent conversation over talk about nothing, or just don't talk or listen to music, laugh, make jokes about each other. Like that's right there in the now, not no behind the back, snake crab ass. I ain't born. I wasn't raised like that. Every time I had a roasting session, it was a group of people. Everybody took turns roasting each other. It was fun. It was lighthearted. It was, it could. It's like even if it was like hurt your feelings a little bit, the next person to tag that person up. You know what I'm saying? It was just like that. That's how it was when I was growing up. I didn't, and then when I was around my grandparents, all they showed me, me and my cousin didn't really argue on that. Once we got a little older, we pick and had those type of sessions, but it was still like you pick on him, I'm gonna pick on you. And it was just that's how it was. It was just how we was raised. I don't. And when the outside world attack your family for being great or being popular or being talented, I don't know. So no, I just want to come on here and like my child is coming into her time and like all our age range, our kids line up around the same time, middle school, going into middle school, developing into, they finishing kindergarten, K through 5 now. And it's just about that time for us as, we might, I got cousins that was in my, age frame that have kids, that's going to have kids soon. So, we have to, they're going to be grandparents, young grandparents, by the way, but, that's how it's supposed to be. And, the bigger, the better, really. That's how it's really supposed to be. But it's so much jealousy because, the European white people are mad because they don't develop, they can't procreate like us, or, they mad because, they do a lot of stuff just to stay in the talking. That's me mentioning it. You know what I'm trying to say? Stay in power. They already done did so much. So, I'll be looking at it like I'm not trying to really diss you. I'm talking about like on some, they don't have really the comprehension level of just letting it be what it is. You know what I'm saying? You survived this long, let it be what it is. And then and they do too much. They do so much. Cause I get a lot of visions when I'm asleep or not but it's like those type of attacks is weird to me. Like once we leave the United States, what is it? If you take all the African descendant, very strong from close to that realm, not the Europeans, you take us all to this country. Let's see how it would develop basically off our back. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'll be lost with that. Like it's like that's how the history was taught. It wasn't even taught no other way. You couldn't lie about that. They brought us over here to work these fields, to build up houses, to make roads, to create things that they didn't have yet. This is and then half the stuff that they put a white face on, the black people was behind doing the blueprints, the technology part, before time. You know what I'm saying? This is stuff that was came out right after, is known. They don't burnt so many fields and houses. This stuff was happening at a high rate. So no, I don't want to make people feel like I'm going at these people, but it's like don't try to reverse the time and make it seem like that's what it's supposed to be. It's not. We're not evil people. We don't need y'all around. We don't need y'all to be successful. You know what I'm saying? Just to release I tell y'all about let the resources be what they is. Stop trying to poison things that don't need to be poisoned. So, that's all it is. And then when it comes to you attacking my child in the spirit realm, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm not gonna threaten you on this type of platform. What in the I'm gonna definitely be at these school boards, these institutions that they they'll try to put you in jail for not putting your child in school. My child is very, but the children in my family are advanced, but then they go, when I say that, they want to study their brains, they want to put bad food in their face. You know what I'm saying? They go the craziest routes. So, I hopefully I'm talking in a manner of I don't want that to happen. I want light and positivity in my child's life. So, that's what I want. I don't want nobody to be over her head playing around because you miserable and you're not worth nothing. You know what I'm saying? Your whole life has been created off fraud. That's what I don't have the energy for. Like you ain't getting it yet. You in your 30s, you in your late 20s. Like, you know what I'm saying? I got people like, what do you like? And it's not. I don't understand. So hopefully we get things get situated properly. Ain't nothing perfect in my life, but I am gonna speak the truth about what I see. And I don't even be outside as much as I'm trying to get back on the field full time. I coached a little summer league over here, this community. It was what it was. We still got the playoffs. We got a regular season game. Just upgrade. I didn't go to the out there. I didn't go to my child's go to the school board meeting, but it's unnecessary. Hopefully she gets put in the proper school that I mentioned. I can't do nothing but talk out in public like this. I don't really have time to, I already developed that person as a when you have a child, a female child, it's good when she's really young. As a father, you have to instill knowledge and wisdom, and then when she gets to a certain age as a teenager, you have to be there for her. And this is my platform for all fathers to try to take a blueprint, because I ain't finna argue with nobody I ain't with. And I ain't vouching for you too much. You're too slick. You know what I'm saying? But I will vouch for my child. I will fight for my child. I'm not going and ain't debating. I pay my taxes like it. I ain't nothing to be sugar coated. What I gotta do is I gotta file last year taxes. Y'all wouldn't let I could talk about Florida all day and the negative the taste for it, but I ain't gonna put too much in it about that. That's just gonna over time will get corrected. And I speak. I don't think I went too hard on nobody today when it comes to the state that I live in, but hopefully things go how I want them to be. I don't really have time for people not in this state. You know what I'm saying? Not even relevant to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll be looking at it stuff like that. So people who ain't from this state, people who ain't never raised over here, who ain't understanding of how this is designed, or really ain't never developed the fortitude to learn what it is about. So I'm sorry you didn't have the grandfather and grandmothers I had, the mother I had, the father I had. I'm sorry. That's I don't know what to tell you. I was, I did not expect it to be easy. And I feel like, me not expecting it to be easy is helping me develop, whatever they give me, kind of make with the most of it. But I don't want to be stuck in a loop. You know what I'm saying? I already done I already know once. Like I tell you, I won so many times. I don't really like, the percentage of winning is you never 100%. So once you win a certain percentage, you already won. So yeah. And I do want to have more children. So not right now. Now, unless I get like really married in a serious relationship, in that terms, I ain't trying to be on no have kids here, there. That's not the energy neither. But it's gonna be good, man. That's pretty much it for just the intro or just talking about community. Hopefully football I get somewhere. I was more hopeful that it would I like I said I put my is it raining? Yeah, that was some old random is rain that I ever see. But I can I don't know. People have this thing where they want to start the world over. I guess that's what was supposed to happen in their COVID. Everybody forget that I was that raw as a coach at that high level, and I gotta figure out what people really want me as a football coach. I don't people want to feed off me being that high level as a coach, and I have a strong distaste for that because like I don't pass people that don't coach me in this sport. So I don't, I ain't bragging on something like on the level. I'm talking about just my mature levelness. Like I always was a good people person, so people want to actually do what I say when I coach and what I teach. They realize I told them I used to tell this funniest thing my first few years. I say, the stuff that we teaching is what you're gonna learn on the next level. And they're not gonna put the energy that I put into it. And I used to give them that message all the time. Cause I'll actually do the drill. I was very young. I'm still pretty young. I can still do them, but as time's coming, I kind of want to still have that energy when I want the youth. What I'm saying, I want to still be able to demonstrate and teach and speak at the same time. So, I did reps like them. So it was like it was fun doing it, and I wasn't trying to suit up and play again. I was just trying to be extra about not taking plays off, being disciplined, taking pre-practice and post-practice serious. You never stay too long. I never wanted them to stay too long after practice. That if you do pre-practice for 15 to 30 minutes, which is where I was out there 30 minutes early most days, especially my first 5 years, I was, I don't remember. Like I built like my group of players developed at a high rate. Went from the worst school to being. I got the. Now I'm not making this up. One of my players is going to be in the Palm Beach County Hall of Fame. With the stats he did and with him winning and wrestling and all that, he's going to be in the He should be in the Hall of Fame. He got a degree. You know what I'm saying? He's a father. Like he did his thing. So I speak on, and then a lot of those guys still end up being, fathers, take care of their family, how they take care of their families, and and then, like I said, then I went to another school. One of my players got Ivy League credits, went to school for that. I'm happy for those type of accomplishments for them. So, one of my other players, he still roams in the state very big. I'm sure they all got college credit, and they pretty successful people, and they might not even be satisfied with it, but I'm happy that they alive. They could have children. They, what I'm saying, all that good stuff. So, if they're younger than a little bit, even if they're a few years younger than me, they'll realize it's gonna get greater just staying out of the mix of that doesn't involve your house, your mother, your father, your sisters, your wife. You'll eventually figure it out. Just stay in the course. I'm not saying don't go branch off and try to create, wealth. I'm not selling it. I'm not telling you not to do that. So that's important. So, having friendship is important, but just be mindful how they come at you. Stuff that I always speak on to them. I want to make sure that that's a staple. I make sure, be mindful. Like I'll never tell you not to have fun. I would never tell you not to experience anything. That's never gonna be me. I'll tell you that quick. But think about the stuff like the consequence. Like I had my fun when I was younger, and half of people didn't. It was fake friends. That's how it always is. That's how it usually is. Like that's how they try to program to separate blacks in the beginning. So and then whites always got the upper hand because this was designed. This if you read the Constitution, it was designed for them to come here and win. Now, the fact that they're not as intelligent or as strong as us, that put them at a disadvantage already. Because once we learned their language, you see what happens. They mad. There's several instances, millions of instances that they was not satisfied. So, just being who they, that's what they, that's what it is. So, and I ain't really dissing that. Like, I don't want to call that a diss. I can't call that a diss. I have worked with several white people, and I give them the benefit of the doubt. The people that the white people that used to be around me, I didn't feel like it couldn't be like a friendship or a partnership. But the older I got, where you see them at, I don't even nowhere. I'm not the one that moved out the way as a man in the community. These people moved out the way, so that means they were intimidated. That means they couldn't stand the aroma of me. You know what I'm trying to say? Me speaking, me being strong, me being a leader in the community. They're not around, so they can't claim nothing over here. You know what I'm saying? They cannot. It's not even allowed. Like I'm gonna have to keep stating that they can't claim my grandfather's his honor, his merit. They can't claim that. They're not around me. They're not even in my social circle. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? So, this stuff is important. My great grandfather's social merit. You can't claim that. You can't claim my mother's merit. You're not around my mother. You're not making sure she's supposed to be. Her fruits is not falling in her basket correctly or properly. Stay with my checking my cousin slash brothers, if you whatever you want to call it at the time. You know what I'm saying? Me losing family members early and me having to understand why. You know what I'm saying? My father ascending early because y'all hating, because y'all want to go do spiritual warfare, government warfare, wherever you're calling it. You're jealous, you're envious. You know what I'm saying? This is what the title of the days is. So we got to reiterate these things on a consistent basis. I don't have time to. I don't really know who you are. It really is. You're imaginary most of the time because you're not around me. And if you're around me, you can't speak to me too long. You can't sit at my tables, nothing. So all that stuff it plays a part. So we're gonna keep it light. I went a little long yesterday, but we're gonna move on. Let's go right into we like to speak a little bit of politics. There's some good stuff going on. We're gonna speak some sports, not to say, I'm really not gonna be personal no more. That's why I had to like close it up. Yesterday I ended on like to be continued a little bit, but I had to make sure, double down on you have to actually come communicate. It's the communication, the lack of. You can't be. You know what I'm saying? This has got to be documented. You got to talk slow for people. It's not real. It's real life out here. So I don't want nobody or none of my family members to get involved in stuff that I didn't understand as a teenager. I'm way more mature now. So I ain't going. It ain't the finesse season. What the album's called? That's over with. You got to figure it out yourself. And I don't mind. Like I said, I don't feel like I have like a strong like support system besides my mother. Really, like at the end, will have my back. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe an aunt, a great aunt behind the scene that I'm not really around. Now I'm not. Like I said, I'm never dissing a family member like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I appreciate these people. So that's first and foremost. I would never go against. Like I said, like I had to really let y'all know. It's real. Like it can't be I gotta relate. And then I got a lot of young people that I really want to be come out of it at the end because they still under 25. I talk about this stuff and stuff all the time. Like I really want them to come out of it winning. You know what I'm saying? They have to get their mind right most of the time. You have opportunities. Don't smear your face too much, but you gotta it's definitely risk as a black man in America. This is known facts. So, I have to, tell these, try to, you can't do it all at all. You know what I'm saying? It's real out here. So, hopefully everything get, people get what they want at the end. So, yeah. Now, we haven't been going too in no details on the like I said, I didn't go to the to close up this community. I had practice yesterday. A lot of people miss, a lot of, end of the summer you gotta go on your family trip, what I'm saying, it wasn't a bad practice though. We didn't have a good scrimmage, but we had a nice 3-on-3 session. I actually put in, I actually played 3-on-3 because it was only 5 of them, so I had a little bit of it was fun doing that. I think, one of my the girl that's on my team, she's developed. I know she works on her game with her father, so I'm not taking from the parent, but I like that she's developed from the beginning of summer to the end. It's I'm very happy for her because if she takes it serious, she got a nice height on her. She definitely can dribble a little bit. She just gotta, when you're not in that, like, I'm not a professional basketball coach yet, but I know the game. I know how to, organize, get people motivated. This is fine. I'm only doing little, recreation. Like, if I get in the middle school setting, I will pay for these drills and pay for these coaches clinics, and I could develop easily as a basketball coach. I love basketball. I understand real plays and the spacing and whether I don't see too much real live basketball for me not to know the game for real. But I'm just happy she's developed. For a few kids that I only had one practice with them throughout the week. I could not get, I know basics. It's not that I didn't want to put too much on, but I wanted them to learn the new way of, even women's basketball is more like the men's basketball now. So the biggest thing is you got to develop a true skill. And I was like, the biggest thing I want to know, like, no, they don't double dribble, they don't travel. They understand the rules of offense and defensive side of the ball. Now they got to do better on spacing, which comes with time. Picking your right teammate, having the same team is time. Your first year, you never understand it. When I tell them to set a pick, some of them are falling like blocks. That's normal when you first learn how to do pick and roll. And I'm like, when you pick, don't follow the person with the ball because they went with the ball. So you have to roll to the rim. And then the person with the ball has the eyes down sometimes. I'm like, oh, y'all learning, but y'all forget the intricate details of it. And then this is sometimes when you're headed, this happens in college, high school, and in the pros sometimes with their head down, not paying attention to the whole floor. It takes a lot of time to have your eyes up and seeing the whole court. You have to be high level point guard or shooting, whoever or the person on the post seeing the whole field, whole court. You have to develop that over time. So I'd be laughing, when I was doing 3-on-3, one of the kids they naturally set a pick to help the girl. I was like, this is not, I could run you over and fight through the screen, the natural screen. I was talking to them about it yesterday. So the 3-on-3 session was real good. So I'm happy. I talk, like, when I get in coach mode, I can show you. Like, I be downplaying how much I know. So, I don't want to act like I don't want to brag about it because I haven't coached many years as a basketball coach, but definitely when it's football time, I really want to get on that. And like I said, y'all might, the world might think, whatever little restart they was trying to do with my face, I'm still better have my stats as a football coach. You ain't taking no shine from that. Like, I would, because, like, I don't agree with how they try to, make me look like I ain't supposed to get no kind of, I want no award. I'm talking about me having a position out here and as a football coach. You're crazy. I would never, and I'm like, I'm not arrogant at all when I go in meetings, when I talk to new football coaches. I'm not arrogant at all. I'm open. I'm like, I don't even understand it. So I'm like, well, they claim it's like you got to get a degree. I don't know. I don't even know what it is. So at this point, I'm not trying to argue with nobody about my merit as myself as a coach because I put so much time in. So I'm like, I'm trying to get on the field, even if it's in a little league manner. Like, I want my nephew to really like go in this year, but hopefully, his mom let him play. She back and forth with me on that, but I hopefully he plays, and he gets in a position to win because the league. I signed up. They said I could be a head coach, and then they turn around and like, you're not going to be a head coach. I'm like, I really don't even want to be on your. I don't even want to be on your system as a coach, but I already signed up, so I'm going. I'm gonna let it play out. I should get a badge or whatever it's gonna be. I already passed the background check. I already told them what it is. They ain't sending. I know I'm gonna be on the field, so I ain't stressing it. I'm gonna take it how I look, So, I can still coach high school. I don't want to go nowhere that I'm not wanted. I don't want to go to a position where I have to fight for like me able to speak as a football coach. I do not need. I'm talking about when I tell you I put in time. And I remember so much without writing it down, like I'll put that much reps as a coach. And I'm not being funny because I need to learn more terminology, And when I was trying to learn the terminology around my fourth or fifth year, it was people that were very jealous of me asking questions but I'm on your side of the football field. And I'm not, what I'm saying? I already know a lot of stuff, but I have to learn different terminology, being able to work with different coaches. I was going to coaches clinics all the time, 1 or 2 a year, I was going to them. So, then I was doing I was going to like spring games for the colleges in the area. I went to Miami, FIU. I was doing reports in different high schools as well. I was very active, and, just I'm talking about real like high level prep football type stuff. So, when I developed how it was. Now I'm not trying to brag. I'm just sharing experience and why I feel confident just getting back on any field. And like I said, once COVID like released it and let people, I went back to the school that I started at, but they had a very big op there. It was funny. I'm like, this energy's messed up. I'm like, what? Y'all see all the people up there? This is like, I was confused, with just having so much people go against what was already built up. And, they could have easily brought some of them kids that was originally as a coach, just how it was designed, but how it should have been designed. It was pass the torch to people that helped start that program, restart that program, and let that program continue. And I'm not intimidated by it was one coach left when I got there a second time, and I didn't really like the energy behind being there, so I didn't stay. And then it was people, I don't know if they want to call themselves bullies, but I'm not intimidated by that. You can't put your hands on me. So what? I laugh at that situation, but they do creep behind the stuff, go to the school board. They weirdos. They be tough, and then they'll go talk to police officers type of deal. So I don't even know how to deal with people like that. So I'd be laughing at that situation too. So yeah, man. But yeah, let's continue, man. That's it for community. I got a little long with that. But let's go talk some politics. I'm not gonna spend too much time on politics because I want to talk about the WNBA games tonight. It's a lot of games that's high level, that's very interesting. We're gonna break a few of them down. The ones that I want, hopefully, because I'm gonna go to the I'm gonna go to Chili's tonight, and I don't really eat too much out. I'm gonna cook my own food, but I'm gonna go up there and watch the game after I leave here. And it started raining. Man, it's raining. It's raining like bad too. But yeah, I'm gonna go check some of the WNBA games out. Watch probably a best. They got multiple screens, so whatever's out there, that's it ain't football camp started for NFL. But yeah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about. Okay, forgot before because I was supposed to give y'all the definition of execrate: feel or express great loathing for. And yeah, the Latin word is like cursed, and like I talk about that stuff all the time. Just being like, having the power of your tongue and speaking correct. Like you don't want to put bad energy on people. You don't want to, saying certain words, it comes back to you. So like even if you one word some hanging no energy, that's gonna come back to you. That you ain't even being direct. You don't even know how to be. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, forgot to do that. And yeah, let me continue, man. I be losing train of thought sometimes. But we're gonna start off with that's what I was looking for. We're gonna talk about the executive order. I've seen that they wrote another executive order, and it was like it looked petty and weird. So we're gonna talk about that. I don't know how many they did. So I like to catch. I'm trying to catch them and put them in on the real live time. So um, mm, oh no, I seen that was a meme. Then I thought they actually put that out. That was funny. I was gonna say that. I was gonna tell why I was gonna go in, but nah, I ain't no executive order. So let's go right into it. Representative Al Green spoke on some very high level stuff today. He said he calling out genocide, ethnic cleansing, collective punishment. They're talking a lot about the Epstein files being delayed, but it's going to be released. This stuff has been going on for several years. That was definitely a part of the government shutdown and the cleansing and all that. He probably finna speak on the Palestinians and Gaza. I'm gonna let y'all listen to his 5 minute sec little because I like the way he speaks. He's very direct, so I'm glad he doesn't put too much out. He puts out what he needs to put out, and he's spoken enough. It's enough people that has stood up and behind, work with him. And I said, hopefully, and also hopefully, Stacey Abrams' book in Florida and down in Miami last night went well. I want people that have my skin color, Black African descent, come out and speaking correctly, and come out and being supported properly by their people. Even if and then I'm not saying whites can't support these people. This is not what I'm saying. It's the fact that when y'all go to these places, y'all can't go there on being the opposition. You have to go there for support for real. And then when you go there and you go for fake and you fake support and you come out and you like black people this and N-word this and whatever other words y'all got, banana monkey this, you know what I'm saying? They still talk like that nowadays. So, that's all. And just be real supportive. If you be real supportive, you might get same type of energy back. So, you can't it doesn't happen over time. I mean over the next day, it gotta happen over time. So that's all I can say on. Now let's go right into what he was talking about because I like he seemed like he a little riled up today. So we're gonna see what he was talking about. Um, I missed the one he did last week, so or 2 weeks ago, but we're gonna listen to this one. Let's start over because we had a little technical difficulties right there. mm, 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 mm. Mm. Well, there you have it. The people that we support is out here killing women, children, and taking names at the same time. So hey, we supporting it. We giving them money. They have other motives when they ask us for help for petty battles. Hide behind all those other countries. Start stuff right next to the country next to them. They needed money for other stuff that they want to retaliate for. These is the issues that we have. We do not know the full scale of things. We want to make splashes. We want to do things for TV time, and that's improper. These are the things that I discuss all the time on my show. These are things that very few people who have the platform that Mr. Representative Al Green of Texas has, who speaks with authority, who speaks with clarity, who speaks with care about people, you know, preserving people's life force and having being able to stand up for people who can't speak in this setting. And that's the biggest problem we have. Our money is on all this blood because we giving them resources that they don't really need. They really want them to, you know. And I'm not saying I want them to come to our, but it's like he said, it's gonna affect us in the future. It's going to affect, that looks horrible because those guns and those bombs and those, I don't know if they got soldiers over there. Hopefully that is not what it is. That would be the stupidest thing ever. But I know how it works. They'll send airplanes and probably wave an American flag over there with people's heads and all kind of goofy, stupid junk that they probably doing in this with this office. And it's like, why? There's children down there on the ground. Like that's what he's talking about. And no, you don't celebrate death with nobody. I'm not even talking about if you have to protect yourself. You don't celebrate. That's not something to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? It's not something you have to mention all the time. It's something that you had to do to preserve your life force. If that's what it had, that's what that had called for. You know what I'm saying? Somebody shoot a gun at you, you got to shoot back. If somebody put a knife on you, you got to stab back. All these stuff is like what the issue is. Like, and I'm speaking on this like what he's talking about, what's going on over here in Gaza. I'm not talking about nobody specific. I'm talking about what's going on that I just listened to. So hopefully things are things change. I don't want nobody to come and do my child in or put anything. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff is important right now that we actually support the right people. I don't care who's calling himself an authority or power or have the biggest seat. We got to get behind people that could speak to the masses, that could challenge these people. So we don't want. It's very tough. This person. Stuff that I'm not on Twitter. I can only imagine what is being done on Twitter. I can only imagine, like and then I'm not trying to say like I have not been paying attention, but like I can only Elon Musk was literally meeting with Trump like last month or a month and a half ago, standing next to him with him sitting in that chair. You do all those executive orders. And then he comes out 4 weeks ago, we're not no longer supporting Trump. You just did a gazillion dollar deal. You know what I'm talking about? So it doesn't matter what you're saying. You already signed up. Like, and then what are you using that money for? What are you using those resources for? You think you're not even on good terms half the time because y'all petty bicker about helping your side, your team, and him helping his team, and y'all supposed to be having completely different jobs. You already over Twitter. He's supposed to be running the country. You know what I'm saying? So what is this about? So hopefully things get situated properly. I don't have too much to say about politics today. I'm gonna let that be what it is. This doesn't have a direct effect yet to America. Hopefully they don't have fake. It's crazy. I just don't want to speak too much on it. Things I don't know about. I'm not there in the flesh, so hopefully things get situated. I don't want that bad energy on my family, and not even a little bit. Now, for lighter news, let's talk about these matchups for the WNBA. Moving on, because like these people are female. These people have children. These people are giants in the world of United States. The fact that they're all NBA superstars on every team. So but the matchups today. Okay, I'm gonna just go down. It's 5 games today. So you got the Los Angeles Sparks, the Washington the Washington Mystics. I'm thinking I'm saying that correctly, and my tongue might be messed up. Indiana Fever, the New York Liberty, 8:00 game. The other game was 7:30. Then you got Chicago Sky versus the Minnesota Lynx. Then you got the Atlantic Dream versus the Las Vegas Aces. And then you got the Dallas, I don't know their mascot. Then you got Dallas versus Seattle Storm. So those are the 5 games on today. Now, the teams that I really, hopefully I watch. I want to watch the Los Angeles versus the Mystics. I think the Washington Mystics have the advantage because their post players have basically rounded into full form, and I think they're going to be a problem. I think this team could easily challenge for title run if they go on a nice run at the end of this year. They're young, but they got a lot of firepower. They're going to be a threat to Angel Wilson. And Indiana, Aaliyah Boston. I think they're those are teams that are going to be in the playoffs that the Mystics are just forming with that 3-headed front court. Front court. They're going to be an issue to those type of teams. And Indiana Fever has they got nice guards. I'm sure Washington has pretty good guards. They're more defensive type of guard. They can hit threes, But I'm not saying they're not. Their game is more on the old school, from inside out to outside in. So I like Washington. I'm actually fans of Los Angeles Sparks. Um, Jackson, and they got Plum back, and that's a nice 2-man combination right there. They got I think it's I don't want to say her name, but she has number 5. Hamby, I think is her last name. She's pretty nice. And 23, I slips my mind that she could have made the playoff. I mean, the All-Star. I don't think she made it, but because they probably the record, and then those superstar girls on their team, with the popularity matters when you're getting voted into All-Star. So it's going to be a good game for the Los Angeles. And it's All-Star break. It depends on how you come out. Los Angeles is not in, but they've had a good in right before the All-Star break. So they had a nice little, they were over 500 for their last 7-8 games. Indiana's fever, they've been 500 back and forth. They started very hot. Caitlin Clark, I think she's still injured. New York Liberty's top 1 or 2 seed already. They won the championship last year. Brianna Stewart is one of the best players in the league still. With which call didn't have a hot first half. She probably was a little banged up. I can't remember 35's name. I usually write notes, but I'm not tripping. She's nice. She had a great big year last year, but she's still the big part of the team. I don't know if she's fully healthy or not. It was break, so they got them two. Both those got those women. It's a nice 3 and 4, and they're very, they're basically all stars. One's a superstar I just mentioned. I think it's a couple more players I can name. The one who won the 3-point shooting, she's been doing that since she's been in the league. Sabrina, I can't remember. I don't want to butcher her last name, but yeah, they're nice. New York Liberty's nice. They got a nice point guard. Caitlin Clark, if she's playing or not, you got to be fully prepared. Aaliyah Boston, I mentioned, she's a superstar to me, a young superstar. So, that's going to be an interesting game. I would watch that game, but I actually would rather watch the Chicago Sky game and the Minnesota Lynx game. Not this and that team. There's a lot of veterans, a lot of young, but I want to see if Chicago can, come out and beat Minnesota Lynx. They beat them already. The same type of energy that Washington has on their front court is the type of energy that Chicago has. You got Angel Reese, Camila Cardoza, and when she went over and played Brazil, I think they could add that three-headed front court and really dominate. Angel Reese does a great job of passing out of the post. She just got to be at the top of the key as well, so she can run that point forward type design. What you call it, was having a very good 5-6 games before the break. Askins. So I think they're going to be okay. Then you got Collier, who just won. Probably won MVP. She had 36 points. Yeah, what I'm saying? She won MVP for the. She won MVP last year. They made it to the finals. So I think she's hungry. She wants to win the championship. I don't know if she was with Maya Moore her rookie year. I'm not sure. So she might already got one, but and now that's a big team. That's one of the top. I think they're they have the best rate. They have the best record in the league. So she's on a very high. She's at the top right now as a 2 guard. So and they probably got to guard a lot of threes there. It changed back and forth from 1 to 3 for a guard in WNBA. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And then you got Atlanta, you got Brittany Griner, you got Angel Wilson. This is gonna be nice. Just this is for superstar reasons. I'm mentioning those two. Those are Hall of Famers in the women's basketball period. So, it's gonna be interesting. They got other players on there that's hooping. Not gonna go into it. That's gonna be an interesting game. Atlanta, nobody expected them to be 4 games over 500. Definitely probably gonna make the playoffs. They're on the road, so this game will be big for playing. And then the ace, they usually linger around. A lot is depending on their superstar, and she could be a team by herself the way she plays the basketball game. She's a veteran. She's still her superstar realm. So, yeah, it's gonna be a good game for that. And yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of games supporting the women's basketball game. Also Seattle versus Dallas. I mentioned. I think you name out there. I like Seattle to win that. But Dallas get it organized and get to learn how. It's all about Dallas. Having a set way that they want to win games. So that's their biggest thing for them. They got to make sure that they're on point with how they want to win games. And see, same issue with Seattle. They got a lot of talent on that team. So, it's going to be interesting. I ain't going to name drop everybody, but, they got future Hall of Famers on Seattle for sure. So, Dallas is very young. They got the number one overall pick. I think she's okay. She's here. She's healed from her injury she had. And it's gonna be good. It's gonna be nice to see. Now, I'm gonna go up here. Hopefully, the game is being some of these games that I want to see Washington or the Minnesota game in the early game, and I want to see Seattle in the evening. And I don't mind if they put the Las Vegas Ace game on because I haven't seen a lot of their games this year. So, but Seattle, I'm interested. I like a lot of the players on Seattle. I like a lot of their games. I like the way they play. A lot of guard play. They got a really, post game. It's interesting on Seattle. I think Seattle is very talented. So, they 5 games over 500, and they can win too. They will compete. They will match up well against New York if they play them they don't match up too well against Minnesota. But Minnesota does not match up well against Washington, and Washington's very young, and it's so interesting. And like I said, it's the same thing with Indiana. Got a good mixture of both with their superstars. They're young superstars, very young superstars. So it's gonna be interesting down the stretch. I want to see what happens. So yeah, that's it for WNBA. Camp started with the NFL. I'm intrigued to see what's coming out of there. I'm definitely finna get a game system soon. So PlayStation. I don't mind Xbox, but I gotta go with PlayStation 5. I gotta get me a PlayStation 5. I'm finna get back in the Madden. I'm excited about it because they won't let me play, they won't let me coach. They hating on me still. So I'm gonna get back on the game. That I'm gonna be online. I'm excited about that because I had the energy to play now because I was so focused on coaching. I never dissed the coaches that coached me, but I ain't gonna say too much. I had to go to old school and go to clinics and learn. So nah, but you learn a lot. I was always on the game when I was younger, so I laugh about stuff that I see as a player. But yeah, I was on it heavy. I was on when I was a little Madden and NCAA was my favorite game. So it's still gonna be madness. I'm glad they brought it back. NCAA I get both, but if I can't afford NCAA or both at the same time, I'm getting Madden first. NCAA is cool and all, but they didn't. If they don't put it back how it was back in when they really turned up. When Larry Fitzgerald, that first time when Larry Fitzgerald was on NCAA, that's when they started turning up. I think Carson Palmer might have been the year. Carson Palmer one was pretty lit too. It might have been they had Vince Young, Reggie Bush. They was going in. They bring it back to that type of time. That's when they really advanced it though. And then beforehand, they used to have. I'm talking about NCAA because they got to bring it back. They don't bring it back because we used to literally learn about the history of NCAA playing it on PlayStation 2. We had so much trivia about I learned a lot from the game. You know what I'm saying? They get so technically sound. They don't want to. They get so. I don't know what they call it. They get so you know, when people don't care about the game and they want to be like, I learned, I did this digitally. You know, like I learned, you know, there's some geek that never stepped on the field. We want to know about the game. We talk field talk. Like that's what's missing. Like don't stop that. Like we want to know about the history of it. So, you know, I be tripping out about that. Like they shouldn't even never took that. They could have just kept adding on to the history. Like you know, I used to watch game day every day, but I realized, you know, like I said, that white supremacy started kicking in. You know, shout out to Desmond Howard. I'm still a fan of his. But you could tell over time how people wanted to get like involved, you know what I'm saying, messing up stuff. You know what I'm saying? I can't explain it. And I've sat in the room with Bobby Bowden for real, the whole staff. I went to that coach's clinic. So I would cherish that one for the rest of my life. That was one of the best things. And I've been to an all-star game where he was on the sideline. You know, I could tell some stories, man. People don't know, man. I support Florida and the people that I've been around my whole life. It's not like that thing where I have to hang with you to be like, I hope you be successful. It's not never that. It's weird that people feel that way. You should never feel that way, you know. Because when I got into this game of coaching, I was like, I'm always around the game. I love the game. Like it's that I can't explain it. So hopefully things like, you know, work out to my favor, to people's, you know, where I'm from favor, and then, you know, it's success everywhere. So that's what I want. That's the energy I'm on. So that's it for today. I don't have much to say. You know, that's facts. Y'all will be on that energy. We is on that. But yeah, man, y'all stay tuned. I don't know if I'm gonna do a show. I got a game tomorrow. I don't really have much to say. You know, I spoke on something earlier, but I don't have much to say. You know, like I said, I got people still hating. People done did too much. You know what I'm saying? You know when people done did too much and then they gotta double back. I ain't talking about family for real. I'm not. I'm not in that realm. I'm too old to even compete with a relative, or a young relative, or old relative. I can't. But I'm talking about just people in general. Let it go. Speak. Come to me correctly. You'll get the same energy you got when I was a child and when I was a teenager. It's never too late. It's like I say these things. I be like, why? How? Like I'm not even like I'm in Florida. I don't have to move to be like at the beach. I have to go walk down the street. Like I don't get it. Like what they want me to do. Like what's more fun than what's free, the beach? Like what there's restaurants on every coast. I'm good. I don't have to like live like a fake superstar. Like it's not fake over here. It's like real like time. Like I'll pull up at any basketball court and still hoop with you. You know what I'm saying? It's never nothing. I'll go throw the football around. You know, it ain't gonna be more than 40 yards now. I ain't in shape for it yet. Like, I still have fun. You know, I get out there with some cleats every now and again if you want to go that route. But you know, it gotta make sure you in the 30 and older club. You know, I can't compete with these young. I got too many. Like, you know, I want people to win out here. I ain't doing all that. That's too much. You know, I compete in different ways. Like, you got to use your mind a little bit to compete with me. You want to play Mad? We're gonna get back on Mad. You want to play chess? We can play chess. You want to go sit at the poker table with your glasses on, which I'll play a little bit. You know, we got poker chess for Walmart for $10. You know, we can have fun. But you know, let's make it be like that. It ain't gotta be all that extra. It ain't gotta be too extra. But yeah, that's it for today. This is Dynasty the podcast show. I'm your host Ira Bush. Hopefully I'll make it tomorrow. I'm not promising nothing. I don't really want to be on it every day like I was. Like it ain't nothing to say. You see what's going on. They out here, people speaking the truth. They start killing kids or children. Correction. So hopefully things get worked out in the world. You know, they don't come on my porch. Don't come mess with none of my children over here. That's all I can say. See y'all. See y'all. Hopefully, I see y'all. I'll see y'all soon. You're gonna use those corrections. See y'all soon.